support innovators and entrepreneurs in the green sector. It's my pleasure to welcome you all today. And as you heard, my name is Ambe Emmanuel Chio, and I work with the United Nations University, the Vice Rectorate in Europe. And this event is hosted in the framework of a project called Green Innovation Project that is funded by IGRC, the International Development Center, Research Center in Canada. So today we are very delighted to have distinguished speakers that will be taking you through this session by presenting you a blueprint that was developed in the frame of the project. So maybe just to give kind of an opening remark of the session, as we are all aware, climate change is adversely impacting communities and around the world, and innovation will play a great role in terms of development of transformative solutions. Another important sector to solve this problem is the private sector, to create and facilitate innovation solutions. There is also a tremendous potential for startups and youth-led initiatives to address climate change issue as well. So in the frame of the Green Innovation Project that is led by the United Nations University and a consortium of partners such as the AfriLab, the Regional Collaboration Center in Kampala, just to name a few, seeks to support stakeholders. Here, when we talk about stakeholders, we are referring to government agency, universities, private sector, and youth, as well as communities. And this is to assist innovators and entrepreneurs by providing them with a blueprint on how to set up a virtual tech hub. So for this session today, we'll be sharing the concept of a blueprint for the tech hub service as a tool to set up and implement the virtual tech hub services to support youth and women in innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa and beyond. So the session is organized in the form of a seminar. So that means I will be inviting different speakers to come and do a presentation on a specific topic related to the blueprint. Then at the end, I will ask them to sit on the panel where I will ask them one question. And then there will be a session for question and answer related to the blueprint. And last but not the least, we will receive a closing remark. So that is a little bit the rundown of the session. So having said that, I would like to start with the first item of the agenda, which is to showcase a blueprint for the virtual tech hub and the services that it provides. And this will be done by Dr. Etoro, which I believe she's joining us online. And so you will just have to introduce yourself, and then you start with your presentation. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, William. It's a pleasure being here and meeting everyone here. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're dialing in from. My name is Itoro Mbolu. I'm a board member at AfriLabs. I also lead the AfriLabs research group. I run an innovation hub also in Lagos, Nigeria, called Tech Westem Academy. So it's a pleasure being here. So I'll just run through the blueprint, and I'd like to confirm if you are able to see my screen. So if you are able to see my screen, please indicate. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
How about now?
Yeah, not yet. We cannot see your screen.
Okay.
Or maybe we can try to share from this end.
Yes, please. I'll previously shared. If it could be shared from that end, then that would be great. I'm sharing it, but it's not showing that it's shared here.
Yeah. So I believe now you can see the screen, right? It's being shared.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, I can see the screen. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you for your patience. So we're going to just run through the virtual tech hub blueprint. The idea behind the blueprint is to ensure that we are able to support hubs that want to start a online virtually and provide them with the narratives, the different aspects that they will need to cover, the technical requirements, the reference implementation. And then because there are different components of the virtual tech hub blueprint, they have a structure. We'll just do a deep dive into just one of them and showcase how it is. Next slide, please. Okay, so why was it important to do this? I think it was important to be able to support innovation and entrepreneurship across the continent. There's a large population of young people, youths who would need support in understanding how to provide additional services. We have a lot of physical on-site tech hubs, but they are still not enough to support the population that we have. And to be able to scale and support on a large scale, it was important to see how best to support and provide a toolkit for the young people and stakeholders that want to start a virtual hub. But also by making it virtual, it supports the green sectors. It's not capital intensive, and entrepreneurs or people within the ecosystem can go ahead and get on board this and start it. It also helps to support being able to collaborate remotely, but also having the required tools and measurement metrics to be able to get that sorted. So these are like just some of the main reasons why it was important to get this virtual hub toolkits. Next slide, please. So what was the main objectives of this project is to, one, provide guidance for the stakeholders and the kind of services that they could offer. So it's actually an end-to-end toolkit that shows them all the different aspects and how they could go through that. And then if they need to build platforms, if they need to, all the technical requirements that are required for that are also provided so that they know the specifications. So the specifications suggested here are samples. They could be, you could have varieties or you could mix and match depending on the needs of the of the hub. So, but we just try to provide a general overview of all the different aspects that will be needed. And also for the technical aspects, we also provided suggestions on the kind of software that they will need to deploy it. And then provide a narrative on what those type of services are and possibilities of them being to replicate those services, irrespective of where they are on the continent. Next slide, please. So for the toolkit, there are three main components. So we have the blueprints. The blueprints contains a lot about the narratives, a lot of the explanations, a lot of the structures, the components that are required. And then we have the technical requirements that provides the technical specification. So for each of the narratives or components that we would find in the blueprints, we have a corresponding technical requirement to achieve that in the technical requirement section. And then we have a reference implementation of a prototype of how it's supposed to look like once completed. Next slide, please. So this is just the sample of the narrative. So the narrative provides a full write-up. So there's a general overview of what the component entails, and then a high-level description, flow diagrams, process flow diagrams to explain how the process, which aspects should come first. So there are actually all suggestions, but which aspects should come first based on experiences of hub managers that are within the ecosystem currently. So it provides a general description. We have process flows. If you see the diagram on the right, you have a general description at the top. We have the process flow diagram for each of the components. So we have a general overview of the process flow, and then we now break it down by components. Next slide, please. So which components do we have in the blueprint? So we go through all the different aspects from the application portal. How do people apply? If you want to set up an application, depending on your program, the objectives that you have for those programs. If you want to have a mentoring platform and provide services for either your entrepreneurial startups or target audience, then we also have a training portal that supports the stakeholder or the hub in running through how they could run a training program end to end. We also have a resource library that provides suggestions on relevant courses, toolkits, videos that they could also use to support what they are doing. Then there's a startup marketplace that lists all the different information. So the idea is that if you come on you are able to showcase your startups or your organizations or your entrepreneurs. And if you want to build a marketplace, a virtual marketplace for your ecosystem or your community, are able to do that. And then it also walks through how you can run an online community, how you collaborate, exchange, document, all of that. And then the virtual incubation office also, if the hub is planning to run an end-to-end virtual incubation program, it provides the support for that. Then a calendar system also, how you can plan and ensure that upcoming workshop sessions are visible, people are able to track it and follow it. And then there is also like a hackathon, how to organize an online hackathon or ideathon, depending on the needs. But like this is a very comprehensive blueprint, and each of these sections are taken and broken down into bits. So you have, like I said, the narratives, you have the technical specification, and then the implementation and reference implementation. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of the technical requirements, I've spoken a bit about the narrative. In terms of the technical requirements, it kind of like mirrors exactly what is in the blueprint. I mentioned it earlier. So for each component or each feature that is described in the blueprint, it mirrors exactly what kind of technical requirements or specifications are needed to achieve that aspect of it. it will also contain different user roles, user stories, example of mock-ups or how it's supposed to be, like how the platform, the interface should come out, and basically the technology stack and the architecture that is required to support that platform. So it's really based on the blueprint, but it helps you to implement and put into action the blueprint that is there. Next slide, please. So this is just like an example of the technical requirement. So for example, for the application portal, it gives you an example that if you are like a hub manager, depending on your role in the organization, it will specify the different roles and the different types of action items that you need for those specific roles, or if you need to assign them, and how to achieve that. So you can see it lists out like, for a tech hub manager, you want to be able to capture their names, manage their the roles that they're able to, role assignments, and what they're able to do, who are the admin staffs, what should they be able to do on the portal, and all of that. So for the application also, what are the objectives of the program, what would you like to measure, and just tracking the objectives to ensure that it aligns with the needs of the hub. So they will actually vary depending on the hub and the main objectives of the hub. But again, walking through the process kind of like helps you to think through the whole process and then set up the hub in line with the objectives of the hub. Next slide, please. So the reference implementation I mentioned earlier showcases the features, provides like mock-ups, images on how the final outcome would look like. And it's actually based on community of tech hubs that have developed these platforms. For this project, we've been working with a lot of experts that are currently running tech hubs to provide overall guidance and things that they've been doing that have been working just to make it as robust as possible. And also would also provide options for hub managers to provide feedback. And it's actually we're going to constantly ensure that these services people can build on them. They can offer platform as a service model. So it adopts the platform as a service model. So based on the implementation or the specifications that are required, you can just adopt the aspects that are needed for your hub. So you don't have to adopt the whole end-to-end bit, but the aspects that are needed for the hub. Next slide, please. So for the reference implementation, we are considering the different type of stakeholders, the startups, the mentors, organizations. So the idea is to have an interactive database that startups or key stakeholders within the ecosystem can engage with. We hope that it provides opportunity for collaboration, funding opportunities, and just provides general information that is required to scale and build the ecosystem. So on the reference implementation, there's also the training aspect where you could go online and select specific trainings depending on the sector that you are interested in. And there are also general entrepreneurship resources, and then the training platform that could be adopted by any of the hubs. And then also the idea is to also ensure that one is able to build a vibrant community, and the community aspect covers all the different bits of how do you get on board the members, forums, how do you run events, how do you manage the administrative bits of the accounts, how do you communicate your community. So it's actually, again, I'll say it's a very robust toolkit that is very useful for the ecosystem. Next slide, please. So for the mentoring platform, so this is an example of what each of those different components I mentioned are. So for the mentoring platform, you have this bit for the training, for the marketplace. You will have a breakdown in this way for each of those different sections. So just to show you how how that this toolkit provides for. So we have to be able to mentor or create a mentoring platform, there are like different stages, different components that it works through. And these are like the different components. And we've also arranged it in a kind of process flow just to be able to track which one should come first and how you should adopt them. So we'll just go into it a bit. If you go to the next slide, please. So I kind of like brought this out a bit large just so that we'll be able to see it. So we talk about the preparation. So the preparation starts from when you start thinking around what project do you want to do, like in the virtual hub, is it a specific project? What are the goals? What are the objectives? How do you want to measure it? How do you want to track it? So it's a lot of the administrative bits for the staff of the hub to think through, and it helps them to be able to ensure that it aligns with the needs of both the mentors and the mentees, so that there is alignment across the collaboration. So after that, we also talked about sector categorization. So in this bit, it's really mainly what are the different sectors, just so that the mentors are also able to align, because we want to ensure good fits. The mentors are able to align with the different sectors. So here you can actually bring out all the different sectors that you want to ensure that the mentors are specializing, and it helps the mentees to be able to get better match within the industry. So it depends on how deep you want to go in the categorization, and that breaks it down. Then we do a call for mentors. What are the different aspects to ensure that you get a good call for mentors? Which areas are there? Where do they specialize in? Which opportunities, which references? So you put out a call, the application process, what do you want to capture and showcase to the mentees so that you'll be able to make proper decisions around that. Then after you have the call for mentors, you do a screening for the mentors to ensure that you get very good mentors, experienced mentors that are able to provide the required level of quality and service that you need. They could include things like references, peer-to-peer review, and all of that. So for that section, we also have a breakdown for each of that. Then we talk about the mentor registration. So after you shortlist them, how do you get them on board? What do they put out on their profiles? So based on either the categorization that you had done earlier, they're able to put that, their time availability, what do they want to showcase, their background, their skills, interests. So you have all of that. Then you now have access. What kind of access do you want to provide for the mentors? The database, business, access to other angel and VC networks. What are you providing for the mentors also? Then also we have the mentees registration, similar to the mentors, but the mentees get, again, registration, what are their goals and expectations to ensure that there's a match and alignment with their skills, interests, and what profiles do they want to put out there. Then we have the discussion forums and communities. You want to ensure that it is robust, dynamic, people are interacting, there's peer-to-peer between the mentees. There's also mentor-mentee communication, so forums, discussions. It walks through how that can be set up. Then we have the mentor-mentee matching, and this could be done manually, or it could be done using algorithms, matching algorithms that looks at the profiles that the mentor has put up and the profiles the mentee has put up, and then matches them, and they're able to achieve their desired goals. So it kind of like walks through the process of setting it up manually and using algorithms. Then we also have resource sharing. This provides different types of resources that you could also have access to, links, easy to use file sharing features that allow either the mentors, mentees upload, share documents, videos, articles that they feel will be relevant in supporting the engagement and trying to achieve the mutual goals that have been set. Then we also talked about scheduling. It's important to be able to align the a calendar management system for the mentors and the mentees. So you could have so that the mentees are able to book themselves or book through the platform, and then also the privacy settings for the mentors. What do they want to share and all of that. So you're able to manage that calendar system and have a view on that, because you'd want to track the engagement, how many times did they engage, how long, and all of those things. You could also have recording features depending on what is needed. Then we also have communication tools. How do you want to send messages? Do you want to have video conferencing? Can they make calls? How do they share files? The repository that you have and how they can access it, the communication forums, working all through that. So that's just some of it. We have the blended mentorship coaching. We have the mobile compatibility. So for this, you need to ensure that the platform is user-friendly across different devices, Android, Apple devices, smartphones, tablets, just to ensure that people can access it at any time using their preferred devices. So it's something to also consider while running through that. And then there's the analytics and reporting. Monitoring and evaluation is very, very important. How do you collect data? How do you store it? How do you get feedback, participation surveys? And how do you assess the impact of the program? Do you want to do like a trend analysis after a bit? So thinking of the different metrics that you would want to capture. This kind of like list out a couple of them, and you could have other ideas on them. So again, this provides almost like a base that different hubs could build on what they are doing, and it just helps them to walk through that. Again, so once you've looked at the analytics, how do you want to report? Then you look at the metrics themselves, how you are tracking that the goals are being achieved. So these are like some of the features, and then you measure performance at the end of it. These are some of the features. Again, for each and every one of these, there's also a deep dive if you want to know more about a specific section. So we have virtual hubs that might have needs or need for support in very specific areas. So they might want to just have support in mentoring. And if it is on mentoring, they just focus on this aspect of the toolkit. Again, you could even go a deeper dive if you want to, you have a mentoring platform, but maybe you are more interested in the mentor-mentee matching. How can you improve that for your hub? You could actually go deeper to that specific bit. So next slide, please. So this is an example of a deeper dive. So we've looked at each of those components earlier. So for each of those components, mentor-mentee matching was just one of the components. So we have a deeper dive into the features where you get a description of what a mentor-mentee matching looks like, what it should be, and then what are the different steps that are required for the mentor-mentee matching. And then it breaks down each of those steps. What are the different features that are needed for them. Next slide, please. So again, we had the process diagram in the previous slide. So for this, we now break them down, go deeper into how do you assess compatibility, how do you select matching preferences, how do you make the selections to match the mentors, the mentees. It breaks them down, outlining the different features. Again, this is the narrative aspect. But if you now want to, if the hub wants to go ahead and build a platform for this, then you look at the technical specification document around this section and how you can achieve that based on the suggestions and specifications that are listed here. Next slide, please. So this is the reference implementation. This just provides how the slides, how it should look, looking at the startups, memberships. It provides mock-ups on what it should come out and look like. So there's a link to the site. I think that will be provided just if you want to have a view of how it is. So for the next steps, is to finalize the blueprint document. It's still work in progress. And then we are onboarding a UX designer and developers to ensure that it aligns and the specifications align with the narratives. And then we write the requirements and develop the platform. So thank you very much. If there are questions, I will be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Itoro, for your very interesting and informative presentation. Definitely, I think there will be questions during the question and answer session. So please just stay put. We will come back to you with questions. At least the take-home message from her presentation from my side is that the platform is not capital intensive, which means it's easily affordable in terms of cost by hubs that are interested in such a venture. I would like to invite the second speaker, which is Eric Dambo, and he's going to walk us through the prototype of such a platform so that you have a kind of a better understanding of the presentation that has just been given by Itoro. So Eric, the floor is yours. Please, you will introduce yourself and then you give your presentation.
So many thanks, Emmanuel. So, and also from my side, a warm welcome. It's quite difficult to be one of the last event at the COP. So definitely, so that is the reason why we really appreciate your presence to our event. What I will try to do now is to go through, at least Itoro have presented the narrative and the blueprint document, but just to give you a glimpse of how the prototypical implementation of the platform is looking like. And yeah, if I can just share the slide. Should be loading. So it's loading, but the screen is, okay, it's also coming here. So that is a bit how the platform is looking like. One thing that Itoro forgot to mention also is that we are using open source platform because we want also to create an open source community around the project, meaning everything that we will do will be freely available. Also the code for the platform that we are using, for now it's a combination of several components. WordPress for the portal, Moodle as a learning management system in the back, open source single sign-on component. So all of the component that we are using to develop the platform are open source, meaning when the hub will take the source to deploy it, so he will have it much easy. What you can see here is a kind of navigation structures around the platform. And here, if you go here, so we have categorized the different users of the platform according to startup, mentor, organization. So if you go here, we will then have what we call opportunity. So if you have your hub and you want to provide services, then it's organized around opportunity. If you want to run the call for application for one of the programs that you are launching, so that is where you can go from there to the call for application. If you want to run online hackathons, that is also from where you can access the online hackathon services. And if you want to run the mentorship services like what Itoro has presented in detail, that is also where you can find it. So in terms of training, that is where you will have the capacity building around the training. So one particular approach that we are using when we are talking on innovation, on entrepreneurship, is based on the experiences of the ecosystem, is that the innovators in the continent need some kind of profound knowledge to come with innovation, meaning they need to have innovation, they need to understand the context of where they are innovating. And for that, we are designing what we call context-specific courses. I give the example of the carbon market. If an innovator wants to design a business case around the carbon market, he needs to understand how the mechanism works. So before coming with his innovation. So, and for that, we are designing also in the frame of the Green Innovation Project, 20 courses in the 5 green sectors that we are addressing, at least to give a kind of basic knowledge to the innovators on the sectors. And then we also, in our learning environment, bring different courses which will strengthen their entrepreneurial and soft skills, how to make market analysis. So that is more or less the navigation place where we have the training platform. And around here, we have the community with the different members, the event, and so on and so forth. Maybe if we go on one of the components, which is quite interesting or important, is this training component. So we design what we call in the program entrepreneurial curriculum. So it's a mix of the strength of classical university with these content-specific courses with the entrepreneurial courses. So if you go on the sector-specific courses, here, for example, that are the green sectors that we are addressing. So inside the project, if we go, for example, on climate action, so you can see then, or if we go on sector-specific courses, you can see how you can have an overview here of the different courses. We have another project also financed by the IDSC. It's called Impulse Out, where we have developed 5 courses to support youth to come out with innovation related to the global stock take. So the course on climate ambition cycle, climate finance, climate innovation. If you click inside the course, then you will be able to get the courses like the one who are give in the university. And here, for example, we will all have another courses on Article 6, on how entrepreneurs could use the carbon market to tap on the potential of the carbon market and to design business case around that. On renewable energy, you also have the different courses. So with meta information, so the courses duration, if it's self-paced, if it's tutored, so that is more or less the platform, the training platform behind the virtual incubation. And if you go on this part, which is the entrepreneurial resources, there are a lot of entrepreneurial resources already to strengthen capacity of youth entrepreneur. What we do, we are not designing new courses, we act more as a repository, a one-stop shop where we refer what already exists. We will then categorize the courses according to the step in the entrepreneurial journey. If you are in the early step, if you are looking for, let's say, how to design a available product, we can then link you to existing resources in the ecosystem where you can find it. So this part is more or less a kind of place where you can find the appropriated resources that you want. So, and if you go a bit, let's say, in the back end, as already mentioned, of the system, of the training platform or the courses, then you will then have a learning environment which is in the back running the courses. So when you are logged in with your account, the different courses for which you are registered will be then be listed. So, and if you go on renewable energy, for example, so this test account is settled on the renewable energy course. Then you will then have the topic, the videos, and everything like in the normal learning platform in the university, how you can take the courses. So I think that is one of the components which is quite advanced already on the platform. So if we go, for example, on the market, on the mentorship or the call for application. So there are a lot of components which are still work in progress, or the startup list, or mentorship, or let's say call for application. Opportunity. So, for example, if you are running a call, so the general description around the call, what is the call about, what are you offering? So that is where this place, that is in this, so the different information, the eligibility criteria. So, and then when you click on link, then you submit you can submit the information. And later on, we will also have a platform where if you have judge, so people who will then evaluate the application, they can then make this work online and more or less select at the end for your program as a tech hub, the the successful candidate. So in our program, for example, we run it through the virtual for VC4E platform, but we want to provide to the community a tool where if they have a call and they want people, they can then use it. So the marketplace is another component where you can see the organization, the mentoring. So we will just share the link with you so that you can go through. It's still a work in progress, that because of the time, so we just don't want to speak about the technical part of the platform. The platform is embedded in the broader context. How does it serve? How does it serve climate action? How do we link innovators with the climate action process? So I just want to stop here to give the time to go more at the meta level. Why have we built the platform? So it's not just at the technical level and for the community. How do we put that in the broader context of the Paris Agreement? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. I think that was very interesting for you to walk us on the platform. Too much technical information. I think now we have to bring, just to try to understand this context, I would like to invite William from the Regional Collaboration Center in Kampala to give us a kind of a perspective of how the Regional Collaboration Center is linking up such initiative in the way they do their work. So, William, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Emmanuel, and good evening, everybody. Of course, as Eric said, it's very difficult to come and do a presentation or to have a side event at this time of the day. Everybody's energy levels are low, but it's still good that we have some people online and we can share what we're about to share. As Eric said, that was a lot of technical information, but let's take it one back a little bit. What is this project all about, and how does the UNFCCC through its Regional Collaboration Center fit into this project? So just a bit of background about the project. So it seeks to galvanize youth and women-led green entrepreneurship in Africa. So we're covering the whole of Africa, even though the RCC East and Southern Africa covers just East and Southern Africa. My colleagues at the West and Central Africa are also easy to be readily plugged into this project so that they can also leverage whatever we come up with when we eventually get to the end of the project. So one of the things that we do jointly with Eric and the rest of the partners in the project is to assess and classify African startups, innovations, and promising market segments in the green sectors. We also map the different actors and stakeholders, and I think you saw some of that in the portal that Eric just shared, to then make sure that they can be in one ecosystem with an eventual hope that it can be one ecosystem for the whole of Africa. This will definitely strengthen their youth skills and capacity to develop knowledge based on innovation and startups in green sector. Of course, we know that a lot of times the innovators might be looking at this from an entrepreneurial financial perspective, but that's where then we can see how to then make sure that those innovations, if they're green innovations, how do they then link back into the UNFCCC process? Because the governments might not be aware that all these young, intelligent and bright people who are doing all these green innovations actually are contributing to some of the promises that they have put in their NDCs and in their long-term strategies, et cetera, et cetera. So the ultimate goal would be to eventually establish a Pan-African green entrepreneurship policy and knowledge hub to support youth innovation entrepreneurship on the continent. I know we are hearing a lot of this word hub all over the place. I mean, we know that the UNFCCC, for example, has this innovation hub, and also we saw the last two presentations also talking about databases and hubs. What this does is that it will eventually be a place where we can guide people, or we can point people to a direction where the resources that they need, the information that they need are all in one place, or one place can then link them to another hub or to another location where they'll be able to find the necessary information to then make some informed decisions on the innovations that they're thinking of coming up with. So how does UNFCCC through the RCC support the project? Like I just mentioned, or like Eric also just shared, the course content that is being developed, we look at areas of climate change, and as you saw, there's climate action, there's different aspect of the work streams in climate change, especially also climate finance, and I mentioned NDCs, as well as the Article 6 mechanism, which all countries are now getting ready to get onto the Article 6 carbon credit mechanism. There's an opportunity, there's a big opportunity there for the young entrepreneurs to try and see how they can be able to leverage and tap into that very big potential market, because with all the new information coming out on what exactly or how exactly the Article 6 is going to be operationalized, whether it's the voluntary Article 6.2 or the Article 6.4, we are able to then now see how we can somehow also include this information, and Eric is going to work with the Article 6 expert in RCC East and Southern Africa to then see which parts of the information that's coming out of the process, out of the UNFCCC Article 6 process, can be somehow included in the curricula that's being developed in these training courses. That way, as I said, that readily available information or material in that portal will give informed guidance or informed good information for the innovators to be able to see how to then really green their innovations. Another important aspect that the UNFCCC RCC will bring to the project and is already doing is, as we all know, the UNFCCC has a global climate action portal, which aggregates or rather tracks all the climate action done by all stakeholders, whether party or non-party stakeholders. So this global climate action portal will be another important aspect where we can link up the greenpreneurs and point them to also try and see if they can also record or register the entrepreneurial activities in the Global Climate Action Portal. And this is then usually aggregated and picked up by, of course, as I said, governments to see how exactly all the young people are also part of this Global Climate Action train. I'll just give a few examples of some of the direct involvements that we have with stakeholders on the ground, because the good thing about the Regional Collaboration Center is that we are impartial. So we get a lot of partners who, I could use the word confide in us, but trust us, because we do not implement, so we are not a UN implementing agency. We're not government, and that gives us that sort of Mr. Good Guy who everybody comes to. So I can give you an example of the organization that we've been talking to, or they have come to talk to us, who are supporting entrepreneurs. We have, for example, Adelphi, which is based in Uganda. It's a finance accelerator, and it aims to increase the flow of green finance into the Ugandan SME sector through strengthening green SMEs and facilitating SME debt financing. And that's something that would be very useful also for all the innovators that we put through our process or in our project would be able to then, we could see which of them could then be linked to institutions such as Adelphi. Another thing that Adelphi does is also they address the gap for green and inclusive SMEs in Uganda, and they have a project called the Green Enterprise Finance Accelerator, UGEFA, which applies an innovative approach of improving the bankability of green SMEs while facilitating the provision of debt to green SMEs. So we were in a session yesterday with Masamba, who is a manager of the UNFCCC's Innovation Hub, and he said something very interesting. Innovation can be technological, it can be to create apps or to create all kinds of things, but there's also climate finance innovation. And this is one of the things that then Adelphi is doing, where they're trying to see how they can be able to support the SMEs with clever banking or finance access solutions. So apart from direct enterprise support, UGEF also works alongside banks to co-create opportunities to increase accessibility and tailoring of loans to green business models and technologies. And as we know, the young entrepreneurs will not have what sometimes might be required by traditional banks. But this is now an opportunity for them to be able to tap into that market through this project that we are collaborating on with. And lastly, there's an institution called SEED who actively also engage financial institutions and other climate finance practitioners to advise on and design innovative climate finance products which are catered specifically to small and growing enterprises. So these are some of the things that when we work together and once we get the project to be fully fledged, there'll be a lot of opportunities for us to then be able to grow these entrepreneurs, link them up with the necessary support that they need, and hopefully have a very green world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, William, for that very interesting talk. I would like to invite both of you on the panel so that if there are questions, then maybe we can take one or two questions before we move forward. And maybe I will just start with the first question while giving you the opportunity to prepare your questions. And my first question will go to Eric. We have heard a lot of different collaboration opportunities that William mentioned. From your perspective, which other opportunities do you see for collaboration when it comes to the platform?
And I think when it's come to the collaboration, I will say the collaboration in the project, because the project has two components. There's a capacity building component and there's a research component. And we have designed in the research component what we call the quintuple helix of innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa, where the different actors of the ecosystem are organized. So we have the policymakers, we have the funders, we have the academia, we have the civil society. So in this helix, we have the different stakeholders which so far are working in silo. And to improve more or less the ecosystem, we need the kind of interaction. We need to kind of interaction between these different stakeholders. So when it's come to policymakers, in the frame of the project, we came out to with a policy brief. We have one of the experts which work on the policy brief in the room, Dr. Mao. So we try to analyze and assess the different policy which exists in the continent, the Startup Act at the Pan-African, at the regional level. We are on the way of synthesizing this information and to see how far, let's say, the policymaker could take action out of the output of the consultancy that we done. We also have another consultancy on the challenges of women in the green ecosystem. And for that, we are working with the Genders and Youth Directorate of the African Union. So to see also how the output of this policy brief could be transformed into action to support also different actors from the policy perspective in the market. We have another consultancy on the market analysis. So how we try to understand a bit, if you look in the innovation ecosystem in Africa, the fintech, for example, is quite vibrant. So with a lot of funding, with a lot of innovation coming out. So we try in this consultancy to understand why the fintech is so successful in the continent. So how are the lessons learned? How could they be replicated in the water sectors? How could youth also leapfrogs? So what are the challenges? Is it an infrastructural? Is it funding? So this study try also to design a kind of methodology to understand what are the factors which make which green sectors successfully. And that are different entry points. So from the research perspective, from the policy perspective, from the gender perspective, where the different actors of the ecosystem could more or less capitalize on the output of our policy brief.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eric. I don't know if in the room there is any question. Yeah, okay. Lillian, do we have a microphone that we can use? Okay.
Thank you very much for the very interesting conversation. My question is actually to Willie. So being based in Kampala, I worked in Kampala before with many development partners, and I was the liaison support for the water and sanitation. Okay. So I was just reflecting back on my experience working in Kampala and attending all these development partners working groups, which I'm very sure you attend. Do you see any potential of leveraging such platforms for partnerships, be it technical partnerships or financial partnerships to support innovation, especially for our young people back home in East Africa?
Yeah, thanks for that question. That's a very good question, and actually, it's one of the core functions of one of the core activities that the RCC undertakes. Yes, we're part of that environment and climate change development group. So we do attend all their meetings, and apart from that, we also get invitations from institutions or partners who are then either looking for entrepreneurs to support or to sponsor. And all that information we're able to then share with the network, either through our mailing lists or by directly contacting individuals who have reached out to us, because we do get also young people reaching out to us and saying, can the RCC provide us with funding? And of course, we do not have funding to support such initiatives. However, we're able to then matchmake the needs of different stakeholders with our partners or our networks who always reach out to us for to offer this kind of support.
Yeah, thank you very much, William, for that. I think we are running out of time, but I would just like to ask one quick question to Ituro, if she's still online. Can you hear me? Do we still have?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good, great. Then maybe one quick question as we wrap up. A lot of good things have been said about the platform. I just want to hear from you. What do you think are the potential challenges on using this platform?
Okay, so in terms of potential challenge, I think one of it would be there has to be clarity for the hubs on what they hope to achieve. They need to start from the beginning. So if they follow the process that has been outlined, then it's easier to use the toolkit, unless you have very specific needs and challenges. But again, there has to be clarity on what you want to achieve to be able to deep dive into exactly where you want the kind of support that you require from the toolkit. But the toolkit is really robust, and I recommend it.
Thank you very much. That's really great. So this brings us to the end of the session. And with this, I would like to invite Santiago to give us a closing remark, because all this have been made possible by our donor, IGRC. So Santiago is going to tell us a little bit more on IGRC work related to youth and women when it comes to entrepreneurship. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Manuel. And I don't want to take a lot of time. I actually don't think that we are in a small group. If you think how innovation happens and how entrepreneurship happens, it happens in small groups. It doesn't happen in a big room. So I think we are the right side for this conversation. Emmanuel asked me why IDRC is investing and supporting the hub. Research is not innovation. Technologies are not innovation. Inventions are not innovation. Innovation happens when we are using those elements, when we translate it into something that markets, public, individuals can use it, and normally because they are useful. And that's something that was very clear for IDRC in the evaluation of the previous strategy. So when we closed 2020 and we are developing our vision for 2030, we saw that we have been working a lot on investing in research for development for the last 50 years, but that we are not seeing that transformation in all the fields that we work. And in particular, we want to have a hint on climate change. That's why we develop a whole series of hubs that will be working on capacity building, we will be working on policy influencing, it will be working in knowledge translation, and it will be working on entrepreneurship. And this is one of the initiatives that we're funding. It's not the only one, but almost right now, everything that IDRC is funding, it comes in a package of hubs. and hubs and platforms that allows cross collaboration, South-South collaboration, but also that creates that opportunities for the research and the innovations or the inventions to become innovations. We actually serve a whole division, the sustainable inclusive economies, to support this connection between innovations and entrepreneurships. And that division is a site actually of some of the work that we are doing in climate adaptation and climate resilience, or in agriculture, or in food security, or in food systems, or in artificial intelligence, because all those require this kind of platforms when we want to bring in to a different scale. So I think today we have seen a beautiful example in how that idea that we have 2 years ago, or 4 years almost ago, now is a reality that can be specifically used. And we see actually when you go to the website and you play with the different menus, that is already individuals and institutions and entrepreneurs in Africa that are moving the climate research into action. And I think that I want to congratulate all the team, and we are extremely happy from IDRC to continue supporting and working with you in any of these initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those very good closing remarks. And it brings us to the end of our session. I just want to use this opportunity to thank the organizers, as well as to thank the speakers for the work well done. And I wish you all a nice evening. Thank you. Okay.